in the farms, right? In the what's campagna in English? Campaign? No.
No, campagna is
Champagne.
like it's like the countryside.
Countryside. There you go. Yeah, some words I only know in Italian. Um, so
Mapina,
in the countryside, what?
mapina. For
Ma
years, I did not know.
Mapina.
I didn't know it was a dishcloth. I said mapina. I would say it at school.
Oh my
It's
God, that's so
la
funny.
mapina. Yeah, I
That's
would. I
hilarious.
anyway. Sorry.
Okay, wait, no, let's go. Let's go. Do you know? Do you know? Okay, this is a Calabrese word that
Okay.
I thought was just a general Italian word, and so I
Mhm.
went to Italy, and I was like, oh, and I said this to my my Campobasan family. I said the word "cincigat."
Chinchigat?
Have you
Like,
heard that word?
is that like blind? Like chakat?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. It's my nonna's word. It's specific to my nonna. She says "cincigat." It means like the clothes that are ruffled.
Oh,
Like
like
it's gonna, like when
wrinkled?
the clothes wrinkled clothes. That's what Chinchigad means. And I went to Rome. I went to my in Campobasso and I said, "Oh no, I don't want to do this because my clothes are gonna get Chinchigat." And they were like, "What the? Where did you get this word?" They were laughing so hard.
There's so much like people like, "Oh, you speak Italian?" And I think to myself, "No. I speak a very specific
Yeah,
dialect.
same.
It's not." And then but then my
Yeah,
cousins from where my parents grew up, they're like, "It's so weird hearing our
yeah,
dialect but with an Anglo." And in my head I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't sound Anglo." And I'm like, "No, I
I
do."
know. Yeah.
Welcome back to Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and the what the moments along the way. I'm your host, Gio, and what's on brand for me this week is mentioning that I'm Italian to anyone who will listen as a means to talk about how much I love being Italian. Sorry, I had to say that, especially if you're here today.
Yeah, I get it.
My guest today is Andréa Pallotto, a somatic practitioner whose work sits at the intersection of movement, nervous systems, ancestral wisdom, and liberation. They specialize in somatic movement therapy and somatic experiencing, blending touch based exploration, awareness building, and trauma informed approaches, all grounded in queer, feminist, and anti colonial frameworks. Andrea's work asks a powerful question: what happens when healing isn't about fixing yourself, but about listening more closely? Welcome to Graphic Content, Andrea.
Wow, oh my god, that was so good. Thank you
Yay!
so much.
You're so welcome. Listen, you have so
Wow.
many amazing things that you're doing. It's facts. It's not me
Yeah.
making it sound good.
Yeah, I mean, you still did though, like, yes. Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to be here and to talk with you. When we first met, we just really like we really like vibed so deeply, and so I'm happy to be here.
Oh, are you
Yeah.
kidding? That's I remember if we met in at the conference in at the CQCC now's summit
Yeah.
in June in Toronto. And we met at the after party, and just that instant, I mean, any Italian listening,
Yeah.
they know
You
that
know.
if you say, "Oh, you're Italian." Oh, and then
Oh,
it's an instant like
girl. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
even to the
yeah.
point where like even my boyfriend who is not, he just went on a work trip to Mexico, and he's like, "Oh, I met these Italian women and we just hit it off all night." I'm like, "I'm sure, being in an Italian family for 4 years, you have stories to share." He's like, "I know, right?"
Yeah, yeah. My wife is the same. She's like, "Oh, there was some Italians over there." Especially like the older Italian women. We met this one when we were moving some things, and
Mhm.
she just kept on saying like, "Oh, Emily, sei brava," and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like women just like the Italian women would get for Emily. Like she would just
She's
they
she
do they fucking love her. And then she played violin for my nonna. Oh my god, my nonna was like,
I'm
"Girl."
obsessed. I love it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
Yeah.
could talk all day about my
Yeah,
love
okay,
of
we
no, 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 and that's not
yeah.
me. That is in no way me saying stop. Are you kidding? Like, it's the
Okay.
opposite. I just love it. Like, even prepping for this interview, and part of your intake you had written about culture and la vecchia religione. I was like, oh, I can't wait to get into it because that's I have never
Yeah.
discussed that on this in this way, in my personal life,
Yeah.
absolutely, but
Yeah.
to see that I
You've
got like,
discussed that in your personal life. Whoa.
yeah,
That's incredible. Okay. La
my
vecchia religione.
my grandparents are old school. They're like that.
What? Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna come over and I can you introduce me to your grandparents?
Well, there's only one living still. My
Okay.
no, even like the old, just the anyway. Yes, we're gonna get into it. People listening are like, "What
Okay,
the?"
good.
F-?
Well, I never find folks like it's hard because of like how like I feel like there's such a weight to like that experience because of like all of the like the stuff that we've been through like ancestrally. Like I can feel the weight of like even like talking about La Vecchia Legione and the like oh my god like something other than like Catholicism or like
hmm
something that's like not exactly what it looks like today. It feels deep and it feels like I can feel like ancestrally scared. Like I can
hmm
feel like those ancestors being like whoa whoa whoa, don't go there because
I
that's
mean,
dangerous.
I know what you're saying. There's definitely that, like, it's the skirting of the topic of, like in the peripheral where you don't want to necessarily stare at it too long because you're afraid that there's a power there. But it's interesting because culturally, the Catholic religion or Roman Catholicism specifically, and the way that it blends in or it's
Yeah,
blended in over time, where I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like a crossover where they live not so harmoniously together, but you see the influences of both in each other, specifically,
yeah.
especially in the South. Like that's where my family's
Well,
from.
that's yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, yeah,
Calabrese,
same.
right? Is that what
Yeah.
you said? You
Yeah,
had
yeah.
said.
Well, my nonna is Calabrese, but I really
Mm,
could like I'm that in my sort of my looking like into like La Vecchia Religione and like just folk practices. That's where I feel most called to, even though I've never been there. Like I've never been to Calabria because all of my family had to move away because of poverty, right?
hmm
So I've never even been there, but that's the place that like I feel like is calling me most. So that's where I'm
You
like
should.
starting my exploration. Yeah.
It'll hit home even harder because you're going in with more than just, oh, I want to like see where my parents are born or whatever, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
whoever. There's an understanding beyond just that. And it'll be more of an impact, I think, once you hit there.
Yeah, totally. I'm really excited. We're planning on going soon. It's like so I could just like be on the land and I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for you. It's honestly a game changer, especially growing up here because my parents were born there. When you go, it just everything just you already know it's gonna click, but when you get there, you really feel it, and you're like, oh my
Oh
god, this
yeah, it's
is
like when
where.
I land there, like the Italian just comes out, Like here, I'm talking to my nonna, and I'm like, and then when I get there, I'm like,
hmm
like it's
Oh, it's so
very,
true.
yeah, yeah,
There was one summer I spent 6 weeks there, and by the end, I I was firing off on all cylinders, like no
yeah,
problems. Then 6 months later, and being back home, I'm like, I'm like the Anglo
yeah.
accent really was much stronger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, I feel that, same.
I know you had mentioned before we jumped into the recording that you wanted to do a grounding exercise to start off the interview, even though we're
Yeah.
already like 10 minutes in, but
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I would love to do that. And this is also just like, obviously it's for the listeners as well, so
Mhm.
I have you in mind. We're just gonna light a candle because it's some sacred stuff. And if you're at home, you have a candle, you can go grab one and do this with me. So let's do that.
I love it. It'll give
Yeah.
anyone listening like a direct and immediate understanding of what you do to an extent.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we're gonna light this here. Mm, there we go. Yeah, that's good. That's my light. You can see it. And just reconnecting with myself, I just realized there was a really beautiful connection with rosemary. So I often just burn some rosemary to clear out the space. And the smell is just so beautiful. And from there, I'm just gonna like come get comfortable, come into my back body over here. And if you are on a chair or on the ground, just feeling into what it is that is supporting you right now. What is supporting your body? Your thighs touching something, your feet touching something, the floor, yeah, your back touching in. I can feel just like, yeah, like how that just really allows my system to calm down. We were like laughing and now, and that's like a sort of an activation in the system, which is perfect.
Hmm.
And we get to now just be sort of relaxed and really into the seat, just noticing if there's something that sort of can let go or fall into or come into. Yeah. I think this is just a nice little moment. We don't ask for too much. We just come back into the system. And I always think it's so funny when we do that. Like I feel like we have access to like a deeper voice.
Hmm.
And I felt that in you. Like I felt that in you. Like like I felt the vibration. Because there's this like there's this field that I work a lot with, like the
Hmm.
resonant field. Right. So like I feel like, oh, I could feel like the vibration of your sound. Yeah. How did that
I
feel for you?
very relaxing, especially in the last couple weeks. I've been feeling very not overwhelmed is a little dramatic, I think, but I just like a
Mhm.
lot has been going on for me internally in my mind as far as like what I need to do. I mean, you kind of poked fun at me adding so much to my plate in so many ways, so you kind of get a sense of
Yeah.
why. But yeah, no, even just like that, a minute of turning off can do a
Yeah.
world of wonder is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get at.
Yeah. I think turning off is an interesting way of saying it because I would actually say turning on. Like I would say
Hmm.
that this place is a place that I want to be in most of the time. Like I want to have these moments like the nervous system functions so that we're not always in this line.
Hmm.
We actually just move from states of activation and states of settling. And some systems because of trauma, they might stay higher and never really get to feel that coming down. And so my interest in my work is what happens after that high. Like can you guys start to feel that coming down? And in that feeling, we get to change the way that the system gets to experience life. Coming into that sense. Yeah.
I honestly never thought that way. I think it's because in my perception of my
Yeah.
reality, my world, the ego mind, the monkey mind is always the thing that's on, is more the active. And so
Hmm.
it's interesting to hear it the other way because it really at the end of the day, like as you're saying this, I'm like, I never thought that of putting those two things together to think, oh right, the thing that is me, my consciousness, my being, who I am, that's the core of who I am. That's what's the true geo, and not the like,
Yeah.
you're not doing enough, like that voice.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, and also it's so interesting. We were talking about like ancestor stuff and everything,
Mm,
and I think like that also is so ancestral, right? Like
mhm.
the keep working and the because a lot of folks you had to, right?
Yes.
We had to. We had that programmed in us and we that lives in our DNA, that lives in our bones. I love to do like bone work and just being like, okay, like feeling into that. And a lot of times it's actually quite uncomfortable. But at the end, it's like, whoa, okay, like now I can feel like this is actually like I moved through it. I allowed those energies to like metabolize in my system.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
to anybody listening who might not necessarily know, they're new to somatics, like how do you explain that to somebody that you're just meeting for the first time?
So somatics is like an umbrella term.
Mhm.
It's a very big term. You know, you maybe you've heard of somatic breath work or all this
Yes.
stuff. In general, I think the best way that I like to describe it is just that the soma is the experience of you. And so we're beginning to touch into the experience of you. And that is very complex. And we do that through movement, we do it through feeling and sensation, we do it through talk, we do it through relationship building. So really like what is the experience of you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But like the true
Yeah.
you, you know, not the you
Right,
that has
yeah.
been compounded with your experiences. It's like
Right, yeah, yeah.
who is the core of you? I find for me, you know, now at my age, I'm able to like pull apart like things that have maybe I don't want to say tainted because that's not the word, but that have colored my experience in this world, in this life,
Yeah,
and realize, you know, certain things like I don't need to bring forward anymore, or I can kind of leave
right.
behind. And by, you know, you like you said, experiencing myself, I
Yeah.
can realize like, oh, this thing that I've been holding on to, or this perception of self that developed in my 20s or whatever, is something that doesn't necessarily suit me anymore.
Right, yeah, yeah, and I think it's also, like I really like I have a teacher just they keep on mentioning, like, unmetabolized energy that gets to be metabolized. And I think like a lot of you know my sort of youth and my 20s was just building like unmetabolized energy, like
Hmm.
energy from reactions from trauma, from you know being a trans person, like a quite like visible trans person I find.
Hmm.
And so all of that like energy that came into my system that never actually got to metabolize. It never actually got to come out. And when I
Mm.
say energy, I really mean like energy, like you know, like energy in the sense of like maybe in this moment I needed to run and I never got to, but I felt the need to run, but I never got to. I might have
Mm.
held it in. And so now, and through my work with a client, I'll be like, you know, we'll be sitting and they'll be like, oh, yeah, like I'm having a lot of like my legs just want to like move and my arms just want to move. So I'm like, okay, like if you just listen into that and feel that, does anything sort of come up for you? And
Mhm.
they'll be like, I just keep thinking of running. I just
Yeah.
keep thinking of running. And so then we get to slow it down and we get to really be with metabolizing that energy, like really get allowing that energy that had built up and that stayed in their system, where we get to like we get to slowly and very consciously, like very presently, like being present, we get to allow that to move, to come out of the system. And so a lot of times people will feel like, oh yeah, okay, I'm actually feeling like there's something like coming out of my fingers or something. There's like
Mhm.
it's moving out of me, and so we get to complete that, and that's always really really beautiful.
There has to be some magic there because seeing somebody understand or feel energy within themselves, that's not just, "Oh, I'm stressed out," or I'm feeling these things," where they can sit and slowly be like, because I say this from my own experience where I've had
Yeah,
moments where you can feel the melting of certain, not stressors, because that's not the word I want to use, but let's say like a hardening that happens over time, you know, in life,
yeah, yeah.
and feeling that melt off through certain experiences or, you know, therapies, etc. That's powerful because then you realize like how much the body is like holding on.
Right, exactly, and that is like the basis of so many chronic conditions.
Hmm.
That's the basis of like chronic pain. Like I don't really identify with chronic pain anymore, but I used to. I had a lot of chronic pain,
Hmm.
and it was a lot of just me constantly bracing, right? And me holding all of that energy in.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just yeah, like, in my sessions, when people do that, I'm just like, "Let's just be with that." Like, just notice how that lands in your body. And
Oh
for
yeah.
any of the listeners as well, like, we're talking about some deep stuff, so, you know, just letting that sort of land in you and seeing if there's anything that needs to either melt away or if there's activation because there might be, right?
Hmm.
There might be, and so maybe you need to like, you know, my sort of way of when I'm noticing energy in my system is just like allowing it to sort of move, right? Just like, you know, just like moving and just allowing that to like actually come out in a very physiological way.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when we talk about energy, I find people just don't know what that means. And I'm really speaking like it
They like
takes
gloss
energy to
over.
lift and lower your hands, right? Like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to metabolize that energy there. That scientifically stays in your body. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of research that says that that just stays in the body. So we're
100%.
just trying to metabolize it.
So when
Yeah.
you first came into contact with somatics, like what about it was it like this is the game changer for you?
So I was like, you know, I graduated university in like feminist studies, and I was like, you know, I wanted to work in the community on all this stuff, but I realized like that actually wasn't like the way that I wanted to. It just didn't fit. It didn't
Hmm.
fit. I wasn't getting the jobs. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to have my like sort of my regular job, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait until it finds me. And that for a Capricorn was a big deal because I was like, I didn't search anymore. I was like, I'm not searching anymore. I'm just gonna wait until it sort of lands in me. And I kept getting these emails from the most like dear place in my heart. It's called the Center for Gender Advocacy. It's the place
Hmm.
that's given me everything. Like I found like my wife through this place. Like I sort of solidified and realized my like queer and transness. And so this place also sort of gave me somatics because so I saw this email and then I spoke to the person a little bit and I went to this movement class. So my background is really like in movement. So if we talk about like unmetabolized energy that was in my system, I was just lightly moving my feet. That was sort of the lesson that we were playing with,
Hmm.
experience. We were just lightly moving very soft, not like, you know, sort of like this,
Yes.
but really slow, very slow, and feeling into the fact that your feet might be like this, right? But just like
Hmm.
letting it slow down. And I actually had like a full on panic attack.
You were
And I had to
releasing.
leave. Yeah, so I got activation I got very activated from that.
Hmm.
And I went, thankfully there was like a space that I could just be in. I chose, I didn't stay, I didn't stick through it. I sort of just went into that space. I sat down and it passed, obviously, because it always does. Afterwards, I was like, okay, this thing, just moving my feet, had this response in my system. That's something else. Like
Hmm.
that spoke to me on a really, really deep level.
Yeah.
And so from there, like I started seeing this person regularly and they were still in their studies and they turned out to be my best friend. And I'm going to see them in 1 week,
Oh my gosh.
thankfully. Finally, they're in BC now. Then I got into this somatic movement. And then from there, I was like, oh, this actually needs to be deeper because I didn't actually want to go into panic attack and dissociation every
Hmm.
time. I didn't want to like always leave my body. I wanted to be present in my body as I was experiencing
Hmm.
life.
Yeah.
And so then I sort of continued my studies and started to somatic experiencing. And now I'm just always in another training.
I love
Yeah.
that. But it's important because I feel the last, I don't even know, I'd say however many years, and this could go, decades, we are so focused, and we've been programmed to be of mind, like
Oh
we live
yeah.
in the mind, we live cerebrally, like, or yeah, in like a
Yeah.
cerebral state at all times. I don't know, this is my own thoughts, come for me, whatever, but the agenda to disconnect us from our heart space and from our bodies has been successful in many ways, and the people like
Yeah.
you are bringing it back. Like, you know what I mean? We need that. I think that there's such a power in coming down and being in our bodies. And I know this is like nothing new. We're the millionth time this is being said, but for me, as like, to go through this life, the shift that I've had in my own experience in my life has really changed when I started to, cut off that part of myself of just being in the sky and really feeling like, what am I
Mm,
feeling? What am I actually experiencing right now that is not just me worrying or stressing or anticipating something that hasn't happened?
right, totally. Oh, yeah, you're speaking to my soul. Ugh.
Because a lot of people listening, and if they're, maybe if they're listening to me, it's, they're on board with it, but I'm sure that you've had a lot of people say, what, like, this is all mumbo jumbo, like, woo
Oh,
woo.
yeah, totally.
And
Yeah,
because a lot of mainstream wellness is the very that, and I don't really
yeah.
like, I don't connect with it. But so how would you say your work differs from a mainstream wellness approach?
My work differs from a lot of mainstream because I think about liberation. When when you said before about that sort of like chasm that happens, like that sort of like cutting from of the head and the body, that was a colonial thing,
Mm,
right? And I don't want to say, and I don't want to blame Christianity, or I don't want to blame Jesus. Like I don't do, I don't want to do that because there was
mm,
beautiful practice
mhm,
of Catholicism,
yeah.
and that's still being practiced, like today in many ways. Like, there's like really beautiful Christian communities in like the Arab world,
Hmm.
in Palestine. There's some beautiful practices that I've seen that are fully like in the body, right? And fully about community and
Yeah.
connection. And so I think that like what happened is there was that colonial sort of the power grab, right? And that's what changed everything, and that's why we're experiencing all of this violence that's continually happening. And so the way that I practice this is just by literally being holding that container. Like I hold that awareness and I start to bring people into choice. I think a lot of the
Hmm.
times a lot of wellness practices sort of want us to like quote unquote calm down, like it's sort of trying to remove that activation. But that
Hmm.
activation is so important, and that was like those revolutionaries who, like, I have an ancestor that I connected to, that actually always been connected to. Like, she's the one who, when I decided like, oh, okay, like Catholicism isn't like giving it for me, it's not
Hmm.
doing it for me, when I was like 14 or something, she like came in like barging through the door. I was like, yes, like let's
Hmm.
do this, and so she's been like leading that part of me. And that's, I think, I like, it's really her who like really like grounded me into like liberatory practice. And so I think like it's about action. So that difference is really about, am I like, what is my intention here? Is my intention to continue in this framework? A client comes to me and then we understand that the base root of all the problems is like, transphobia, homophobia, class differences, poverty, racism. Or can we do I want to like get them used to that, or do I want them to begin to be able to find empowerment to make a choice against that and to fight against it and feel power from that? That's the difference, I think. And that's the community that I practice in. Like those are all of my friends. Those are
Hmm.
all, that's the work that we do together. And I get all of that from like the practice, deep knowledge and wisdom of indigenous people on this land and across different lands. So that's where I really, my ancestor, and also all of the beautiful practice that they like understand, like they have connection to land. And I think my sort of my desire is to get Italian specifically, and I know
Hmm.
it's going to be very hard, but to get Italians into land, back into land-based practices, and back into spiritual practices that are resourcing rather than shaming and guilting. Because I feel like, yeah, the shame is there. Yeah. I know.
The
Okay, I
shame.
just went on a tirade, but what do you think about that?
No, it's on the money. I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity where, we come from similar backgrounds where we're both queer Italians, and that just that alone, we and how do I express this? It's built in. The shame and the J I help me out here. I think it's because
Yeah, yeah.
I'm, like, thinking about it, I'm starting to, like, look at
Yeah.
it, and
And well,
this
and you're feeling into it. You're
yeah,
feeling into that. That's what you're
yes.
probably feeling. Yeah, like just noticing what's happening in your body right now as you're saying that, right?
Yeah, it's, like,
Yeah,
like, I feel
it's hard.
stunted. Mhm,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stunted. Yeah, I mean that's what shame does, right? That it freezes. It freezes people. It's like,
mhm.
oh, like and that's that energy, right? That gets unmetabolized because we
Yeah.
don't let it move through.
So if
And
someone
then
was
from there action happens. Action
so,
gets to
okay,
happen.
that's
Yeah.
perfect. Sorry, I love that we're both, like, it's like we're playing double dutch, we're just, like, it's so excited.
Hey, double dutch, yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, we should play Boche instead.
I haven't played that in years, but I will take you up on that. I'm not good, so you'll kick my
Oh my god,
ass.
you're not good. That's so funny.
No, I'm not Sporty Spice. I'll say
Oh, okay, yeah.
that. I'm
Okay.
not that girl.
No,
Not
me
that.
neither, me neither.
But no, so to anybody coming to you who
Mhm,
is having, let's say, like, okay, what am I trying to ask? People come to you, especially if they've tried everything. They've tried therapy, they've tried all these different wellness tricks or hacks, or and I say hacks not to sound like to belittle any attempts at bettering themselves, but they've
mhm.
tried many things to feel better and to have a more like holistic approach to their wellness, and it hasn't worked. And so when they come to you and they're saying, please help me, how do you approach that when they're like
Yeah.
they're ready, they're really ready?
The first thing is that when we get into when we start talking about trauma, a lot of times the story gets, like put that's talk therapy, right? Like this, it's about the story and it's about
Mhm,
analyzing the story. I did a lot of it and I mean it did help me. Um it was my only support at the time. And
mhm,
but it didn't like the body was still reacting because that energy wasn't metabolized,
mhm,
right? So the thing that I'll start to do is we'll work on boundary and we'll work on relationship. So the first, like, I don't expect like a client to trust me. Like I think it's actually wise to untrust me. I think it's wise not to trust, like to have sort of some kind of openness to obviously the work that I do. Like I can't ask somebody to trust me, especially when they've been through so much trauma. So the
mhm,
first thing is we build a relationship. And that is through boundary setting. It's through like me trusting that they can say no and them trusting that they can tell me anything and I won't judge them. Like I like sometimes, like we play in like imagination land a lot of the time. And so like I'll have a client who like they'll be like, "Oh, this person really," it's like, "I just like want to kick them," but I can't because that's not good. And I'm like, "Well, what if you could kick them in your imagination?" Like, because it's all about just like getting that energy out
mhm,
and turning, like getting that action and getting that energy out. So what if we could do that? So there has to be like a real trust, a real relationship between the client and I. That's how we start to work. And I think a lot of people respond really well. Like I don't do a lot in my sessions. Like so, my like I have clients I work just 30 minutes and we won't be in a story. We'll be outside of a story and we'll just work with their nervous system. We'll
mhm,
do little exercises. Like one little exercise is like just to like sort of activate the system a little bit. So like maybe just a little bit pushing and then releasing and then resting. And so in that exploration, like we'll feel that activation. And this is without a story,
mhm,
right? So there's no actual metabolizing, there's no actually feeling unmetabolized energy. It's just exploring. It's really just outside of talk. And it's great. And my clients love that. Like that's actually what they want to do. They don't want to talk about the story. They're like, I'm done with the story. We'll just like activate the system a little bit, allow to feel that deactivation, and then just rest, right? And then a lot of things come up just from that.
The activation part I fully understand, but to anybody listening,
Yeah.
so when you're saying, we help activate them, like in what ways? You talked about like your experience with your feet. Are there other
Yeah.
practices that you have to help people depending on, what they've gone through, what their, story is, let's say, that they're trying to move beyond? And so like what are different approaches that you have when it comes to activating the body?
I think it's relational.
Mhm.
So one of the important things is to establish a relationship. And I know everybody doesn't have access to like one-on-one work, but there's sometimes a lot of group stuff. Like there's more and more group stuff. So but it's really relational. I think that's one of the really important things is it's relational. So
Mhm.
doing this with someone who understands, but it would be like if you are sensing, like if you take a moment, just like what we did before in the beginning, where we just like sat, right? If you were sitting and if you were doing it, but you were feeling a lot of activation, right? That is you're feeling a lot of energy, right? You're like, oh, I can't settle. Like you're trying to make me settle and I can't, right?
Mhm.
The only thing that will allow you to actually settle if you do something. And now I can say, do squeeze your arms, or I can say squeeze, but it might not be relevant for you. Like it might
Mm.
not feel like, so that's why these things on Instagram that say like do this and do that, I'm a little bit like, I'm like, okay, but what if that doesn't apply? So this person might start doing this, but it's not actually helping. Right?
Right.
That's my experience so often. It's like they say to do this one thing and that just doesn't that just doesn't work. So I would say the best tool is to listen in, spend a couple of seconds, really, a couple of seconds just listening in, feeling, okay, where is this energy? That question, where is this energy? If it's in your hands, then you can, squeeze your hands or you can push out. If it's in your legs, you can allow your legs to just, shake a little bit. It's different for every person because every person has such a different way of being an experience.
There's no one size fits all. I know that's such an overly done or oversaid statement, but it's facts. Every
Yeah.
single one of us and how we operate in the world, what we experience, how we compartmentalize, and where we keep our, let's say that's, these are my terms, but stored energy in the body,
Yeah.
where that it needs release is different. And have you ever worked with people who you've had like maybe family members or siblings or uh, what I'm getting at is, do you see patterns in people who are either, partners or are related? Like, has that happened? I
Oh
just wonder,
yeah.
like, if oh, okay, cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like I can see, like, just for you, like I know if there's I know like I can see all of the different ways, like, your left shoulder is a little bit like closer to the screen, your right shoulder is a little bit back, like, yeah, like I know, yeah, you want to fix yourself, but I see all of that, babe. I see all of it. I can see how you're breathing. Like I have a very good eye for that, and it helps with the work that I do.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I see patterns of like that people will do, and yeah, sometimes it is a bit of a strain on the relationship, but for the most part, like I'm also very clear about myself,
Hmm.
and that's sort of how I counter that. Like, oh, I can see right now that you are activated, and because I'm feeling activated, and like I'm feeling like, oh wow, there's something weird here, like in this like energy field here, there's
Yeah.
just like something weird going on. And of course with all of my friends who are also practitioners, like we're constantly like, it looks like you're a little activated right now, oh, it looks like
Hmm.
you're actually getting a little bit sleepy and wanting to check out. So yeah, I notice all of that, and I try to be really like gentle about it.
So my sister is an osteopath, and
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, osteos, they also feel a lot. Yeah.
she'll like look at me and she'll be like,
Yeah.
the the way that you need a treatment, the way that you're, like, she'll talk about like my hips and like how they're placed when I stand, and my
Yeah.
legs and my back and my shoulders. And I always am like, "Well, then fix me."
Yeah. Do something.
Yeah. No, she's
Yeah,
amazing,
like
honestly.
yeah, yeah.
But once again, it's not being if you're not around that type of person where she will comment and like when I'm on my own, like I'm not conscious of how I'm sitting and all these things. And then she'll if she's like if I'm visiting my parents, I'll be sitting at the table and she'll like walk over and she'll be like she'll like start tweaking my neck and my shoulders, being like small adjustments. I'm like, I know I'm a hunchback.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Oh
mean,
man.
it's always done with love.
Oh, of
It's definitely
course.
always done with love, but sometimes it has a shaming effect. And so that's why I try to be very careful because I think something that one of my teachers a long time ago said that really impacted me was like, this person is this way or like is doing the best that they could do with the current situation that they are in,
Mm,
right? As I work with them and as I be with them or as I'm in relationship with them, whether it's, my partner or whether it's and I'm not always good, like
well, we're
sometimes
human.
she has to be like, "Whoa, don't therapize me," But sometimes but like my role, like I come back to like what is my role and what do I want to what do I want to offer? Right?
Mhm,
What do I and then what is that what is the thing that I'm hopeful for in the end, right? What is
mhm.
my intention? When I come back to that, then I often realize, oh, these little tweaks and these little comments, these little left-hand comments, like I don't know if they're actually that helpful. And oftentimes it's more of a reflection of me than it is of
Yeah,
them, right? It's more of a reflection of me needing to prove myself or me needing, and this is just me I'm talking about, but
yeah,
me needing to be, like oftentimes it used to come from a sense of like people don't recognize the work that I do because somatics, like it's like I've been doing somatics for 10 years, but like
mhm.
now, like literally in the last like maybe 3 or 4 years, this word is like popularized. But
Yes.
like, so what like the work I was doing before wasn't at all recognized in the queer community, in so many places. Like my comments were more about like I look at me, like I'm legitimate. Like I can see, look how I can see
Yes.
how you are. Like look how I'm good at this. It was
Mhm.
never, I don't think it was ever about these other people.
I love hearing it, and that's a really good approach. I think that along the paths that we take, the whole premise of this podcast is talking to people about why they do what they do, what are the different pathways that we've taken to get to where we are, and what are our own personal stories and experiences that kind of dictate why we're doing what we're doing. And so another part of this, it's in the tagline, is I love talking to people about, like, we all come up against these what the moments. We all have them in our careers. It's never just an easy path. And so for you, having been doing this for 10 years, you have the education, all the different training that you've experienced. Has there ever been a what the moment where, it's redirected the focus in your work and like how you approach what you do?
After my first movement training, it certainly did remove a lot of like chronic pain patterns that I had. And like I have changed completely. But it didn't really work with the trauma, right? So the trauma would happen again,
Mm,
and that the activation in my system, and then the trauma patterns would come back, and then that would reignite the chronic patterns that I had, the chronic pain patterns that I had, right? So it was constantly this like loop of I was constantly in this like vicious circle of depression, chronic pain, just
mm,
consistently like, and then finding like 2 seconds of stability, and then whoop, depression and chronic pain, la 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 la. That's why I went into, I would go on like a practitioner's table, and they would, work with me in this movement practice that I do, and I would, osteo table, like I would get on all the tables,
hmm.
a physio table, like I
Yes.
would get on all of them, and I would dissociate. Like they would work on me, and I would get up, and I would feel so liberated. Like I would like, oh wow, I feel so loose, and I'm feeling perfect. And then I would leave, and bang, like the symptoms would
Mm.
either worsen or they would just hit me again and then depression. Why? It was just like a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why the work that I'm doing is specific to folks who have like really syndromal trauma, like very chronic trauma, whether it's chronic pain or chronic depression or
Mhm.
my approach is that like I can't like work to like liberate a system if the
Right.
system is not ready to be liberated,
Yes.
right? So we work with just 1 second of liberation that they can handle. If they can take this 1 second of liberation outside and be with it and then come back next week and that little drop of liberation is still there, then I can work with, okay, maybe we can make that liberation a little bit bigger. So my what the moment was very much like, oh, okay, this helped for a lot of stuff, but it didn't it wasn't working in my queer and trans and syndromal body. I
Mhm.
needed to do more, and that was the people I wanted to work with anyway. So I was like, "Oh, okay, what the this is not actually the thing that I need to be like I'm missing knowledge. Like I need knowledge that
Mhm.
I'm not having right now." Yeah.
And so when
Yeah.
you came to that realization, how did that change how you approach your work?
Oh, I work so much smaller. I work so much smaller. Like my the consent deepened even
Mhm.
more. Like I really like that's why that the first 3 or 4 sessions with somebody is just like consent work, boundary work, relational work.
Mhm.
Before, like somebody would come in, I didn't talk to them before. So now I'm like I have like a consultation. They come in, I'm like, okay, this is how I work. Is that
Mhm.
cool for you? They would come in before and I would just like, start sort of like touching them and of course like there was this like consent, right? Because my work was touch based mostly.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, if we listen in, a lot of bodies actually don't want to be touched. And
Mhm.
that's what I've noticed. Like a lot, when I've allowed my clients a lot of space, like, and I was like, oh, how would some touch be? And they would often be like, actually, no, I don't want that. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's incredible. And how does it feel to like say no? How does it feel to know that you don't want that? And I won't touch.
Mhm. And it's very counterintuitive to the society we live in where it's like I want to fix now. I want to be
Yeah.
healed now. I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to the quick
Yeah.
fix. And so I'm sure that
Yeah.
that switch in itself when you're able to show someone, let's take it real slow, that it has a ripple effect in their lives, I'm sure too. Maybe
Yeah. Huge.
slow down the approach on how I do
Yeah.
everything and not be, now I'm speaking for myself, not be a bull in a china shop. Be a little delicate
Yeah.
around those breakables.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, also like just in terms of my own, I'm very like on my website, I'm very clear, like and with my clients, I'm very clear about like I'm still going through it. Like I'm
Hmm.
not done. I'm still going through it. Like
Yeah.
I'm at the like I the other day, like m- my friend and I were just practicing with each other, with like a mentor and we had to reduce so much the exploration that it just was just me moving my lips a little bit. And I had the first moment, I was just literally like, I just literally did, and there was like a little bit of an activation, and then it was like a settling, and then nothing else. It was just one moment, 1 second of rest. And that second was the most beautiful thing I've experienced in a long time.
Hmm.
Like one moment of actual rest.
I want to switch gears a little bit. We've touched on it a little bit. We've been, the Italian essence has been in and
Yeah.
out of the fabric of this conversation. But
Oh yeah.
I want to talk about, because you mentioned in your intake form that you're currently exploring Italian folk traditions and, like we said, la
Yes.
vecchia religione,
Yeah.
especially connected to your like Calabrese roots. Why now? Like, what is calling you to explore that in your work?
Somatics, you need to experience it for yourself. And And so that's the thing. I'm doing this beautiful course right now, which I won't mention. But I'm doing it's very this is radical. So I mean, I don't know how it's going to land for a lot of folks, but I'm doing like it's sort of de-assimilation from whiteness. Like we're beginning to de-assimilate from the project of whiteness and white supremacy. And part of that is finding our roots,
Hmm.
really living and being into our roots. We describe it as like three containers. Like they say like it takes, well, a lot of research has sort of summed up that it takes three generations to assimilate fully into a culture, right?
Hmm.
So we're like, okay, let's look at what happened in those three generations that assimilated. And let's look at if we can trace back what were the practices before that assimilation. If I think about just not even in terms of like the sort of emergence and like domination of Christianity in Europe, I'm thinking more about like just in terms of like because I'm a second generation. So what are some of the practices that were there before assimilating into like Canadian culture?
Hmm.
I'm thinking about like how communal it was before, right? And how isolated my nonna and my mom were in this culture, like
Hmm.
so intense isolation, and then also just like really devaluing um, the role of women in Canadian culture, right? It's not like obviously like somebody has to do that work, right? And women before in Italy and particularly in La Campagna, they used to in the like for those who don't speak Italian,
Hmm.
in the farms, right? In the what's campagna in English? Campaign? No,
No, campagna is
champagne,
like, it's like the countryside.
countryside. There you go. Yeah, some words I only know in Italian. Um, so
Mapina,
in the countryside, what?
mapina. For
Ma
years, I did not know.
mapina.
I didn't know it was a dishcloth. I said mapina. I would say it at school.
Oh my
It's
god, that's so
a
funny.
mapina. Yeah, I
That's
would.
hilarious.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay, wait, no, let's go. Let's go. Do you know? Do you know? Okay, this is a Calabrese word that
Okay.
I thought was just a general Italian word, and so I
Hmm.
went to Italy, and I was like, oh, and I said this to my Campobasan family. I said the word "cincigat."
Chinchigat?
Have you
Like,
heard that word?
is that like blind? Like chakat?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. It's my nonna's word. It's specific to my nonna. She says "cincigat." It means like the clothes that are ruffled.
Oh,
Like
like
it's gonna, like when
wrinkled?
the clothes wrinkled clothes. That's what Chinchigad means. And I went to Rome. I went to my in Campobasso, and I said, "Oh no, I don't want to do this because my clothes are gonna get Chinchigat." And they were like, "What the? Where did you get this word?" They were laughing so hard.
There's so much like people like, "Oh, you speak Italian?" And I think to myself, "No. I speak a very specific
Yeah,
dialect.
same.
It's not." And then but then my
Yeah,
cousins from where my parents grew up, they're like, "It's so weird hearing our
yeah,
dialect but with an Anglo." And in my head I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't sound Anglo." And I'm like, "No, I
I know.
do."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some part of my family is speaks like Florentine, like they
Mm.
live in Rome, so they
Oh,
they
okay.
you know they
They're
speak that. And so
proper.
then when they hear my Italian, which is like my Italian is Campobasan, like
Mhm.
where we don't it's like a lazy ass language and it's gender neutral, which I love because we're
Where
just too lazy to pronounce the ending of words. So instead of like piatto, like we would say piat,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
so similar. Campobasso's not far, so we're in
Yeah.
Campania as well. But like, so the best way to describe like my parents' dialect versus proper Italian, like I say this sentence all the time. So if you're saying like the black cat eats pasta, so proper you'd say il gatto nero mangia la pasta. But then
Yeah.
in our dialect, it'd be "Luiate nir magna la pasta." So it's like it's a little like ding 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 ding.
I love it. I would say O gato nero mangia o pasto.
Yeah, so it's a little douche douche. It's like got that.
The yeah, the o
Mhm.
gato, like, o gato nero
But that
mangia o
sounds
pasto.
better than Louis like
Yeah, well, I don't know, but that's the same, like, the Florentine,
Mhm.
the sort of, like, early 1900s, like, reuniting Italy, all that stupid
Yeah.
like, we should have never done that. We should never done that, but anyway.
That's a
That's
whole
a
other
whole other thing,
podcast.
girl. But, what were we talking about before we went on this,
So we're talking about the Campobasso, like when wait, what were we talking about?
okay, and so, like, yeah, like, the isolation that my mom and my nonna and my nono experienced,
Mhm.
like, the real disconnection, and, honestly, like, my grandparents have lived in Canada longer than they've ever lived in Italy,
Yeah.
and same thing for my mom, and yet, like, all they watch is I. And it's like as if they're still in Italy. Like, they don't
They
leave.
hold on
Like,
to
they
it.
still they can't get over it,
Yeah.
and I understand, but it's there's such a profound disconnection. So much that, like, I don't identify as a Quebecer. Like, I don't like, that would be that's also, like, very, like, very, like, geopolitical, like, based
Mhm.
in, like, Quebec specifically, but, like, yeah,
Mhm.
like, I'm so far removed from, like, Quebec culture that, like, I don't identify even though I I was born here, like, I
Yeah.
don't identify as a Quebecer,
Mhm.
and I just identify as Italian. Like, that's, like, Italian Canadian.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if we trace back from all of those things, one of the really main things that we lost from assimilation is relational pathways, doing the laundry together, like cooking
Yes.
together. And they were so important to safety, to capacity, to sharing. So this is one of the things. So we go back 3 generations before that. Yeah, it was just relational. Everything was relational. It wasn't good times. Like, obviously it was very hard times,
Mhm.
but that's what was there, right? And so that's one of the pieces that I want to start, like, building.
Mhm.
It's like more relational pathways. And then if we go back, three more, then we're like, okay, we start to get into, like, that's where I'm not quite, I'm doing a lot of research around, like, what are specific folk traditions,
Mhm.
what are, so, like, if we think about, like, we're getting into sort of, like, deeper, like, like, more Christianization. My sister is the history nerd, so I'm just starting to get into this, but learning more about, like, medicine, plant medicines, and I'm not saying medicines to cure cancer,
Yeah.
but medicines to help with, rosemary as a medicine, right? Like,
Mhm.
that really grounds me, right? So using those and sort of thinking about that, and being with that. Yeah.
It's honestly interesting because my dad born there has lived here longer than he's lived in Italy, but the foundation of who he is his upbringing.
Yeah.
And you touched on plant medicine, and that was literally where my mind was going next. So the fact that you said it
Yeah.
is
Yay.
amazing. Because my dad, so grew
Yeah.
up farmer, raised farm like in farming. That's his whole foundation.
Mhm.
And seeing the awareness of, and my dad is not the most, somatics and all this, like would kind of,
Yeah, but somatics was there
yes.
before,
So this
right?
is where I'm
That's
getting at
that cut.
exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's it's already in there. We're talking the ritual, the that approach to
Right.
understanding what is happening around us, specifically in the seasons, the energy of the seasons in the sky, in order to plant efficiently for crops that are coming in the next season. And just that understanding of basically like that earth energy, to me,
Right.
is something that to them it came naturally because it was part of the culture. But when we look at it through like the lens of a 2026, you know,
Oh, yeah.
approach, you're like, oh, like that. It's not witchcraft. It's not how I'm saying it, but there's a pagan element to
Oh,
working
yeah,
with
totally.
the energies of the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why all of these pagan celebrations are seasonal celebrations. They're around the harvest. They're around season changing, right? So identifying all of these moments as very as like important and
Mhm.
needing to celebrate and like winter as like this communal coming together. The family comes together. Everyone comes together by the fire. The big a lot of food and like, those are all part of it. It's not this it's not like, it's sort of wellness also takes this and makes it just so weird, and I'm like, "It's not, it's really grounded." It's very, like
Mhm.
it's grounded in the earth. It's
Mhm.
earth-based, it's tree-based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it
Yeah.
this airy fairy thing of it, but
You're right,
it's
yeah.
baked into everything. There's so
Yeah.
wellness is not just going on a spa day. You know what I mean? Like there's so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's particular to like I have a friend in Finland, and they say sauna, and I want to
Mhm.
respect their pronunciation of it. The sauna is incredibly important, and that has so deeply
Mhm.
to do with their roots. And they go like this sauna is like is a ritual for them, right? And
Yeah.
they don't go to like they build it, right? They build the fire, they do all that practice, and that for them is like really 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 important.
Mhm.
So it's not like it depends culturally where you
Yeah.
are, right? In colder climates, different things, like there are different cultural practices. In warmer climates there are
Mhm.
different cultural practices. Yeah.
Do you feel like ancestral practices offer something modern wellness is missing? Like do you ever see that disconnect?
I think the disconnect is still in the choice, and so much wellness is just about it's a lot of wellness is used for fascism, right?
Mhm.
A lot of wellness is how much more can you tolerate? Like let's try to get you to tolerate. People go on work leave. They're very injured, burned out, and then the therapist's job is to get them to be okay with the result of burnout, right? And that's not the work I want to do. Like if somebody comes to me, and obviously I understand that like we live in capitalism and we got you got to
Mhm.
go back to your job, but let's like add in this little like choice. How can we start to get you to say no a little bit more? How can we start to get you to put some limits, some boundaries? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to work until 11 p.m. I'm going to enjoy my life.
I've thought about that, but just to really say it as plainly as you just did, where these practices are done so that you can handle more or take on more. That's actually
That's
Ah!
it. Girl, that's it. That's it. That's what they want, right? That's
Yeah,
what they want. They want to keep the shame. They want to keep the guilt. They want you to just keep keep working so they could get more
out of you.
of I think if we come back to all of this, I think we come back to like even agriculture and the way that agriculture sort of like changed the way that the world works. It's all about safety, right? So at some point people realize that like you could make more food if you sort of take out the seeds and really like think about planting rather than foraging, right? Like
Mhm.
you could really get more food means more safety. More safety means I have something to protect,
Mhm.
right? So that's when things start to get more complicated. That's when wars start and all that stuff. So it's like people are doing it for safety, and I don't like necessarily blame them, but they got a lot of it. They got a bit too much, right?
Mhm.
Give some of the safety. They have and the world that we have now, like with all of this information, we have the capacity now for everyone to be safe
Mhm.
and and to lose that safety that they have like generationally built was super scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's why it's
And
important,
and
especially.
that's Italians too, right? We're so scared of losing that safety because we haven't had a lot, like especially when we talk about Italian in the context of immigration, right? A lot of us were poor, right? We
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of safety. So now Italians hold on really, really, intensely to safety.
Holding on to safety makes me think of what you had talked about earlier, which was the discussion around liberation. You've talked about how it's really important for you, especially for like trans, neurodivergent folks and people of color, like to really bring liberation as a theme and as like a life goal of yours in the work that you do.
Mm.
So for you, how does that value practically shape the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so it's action oriented, right? It's very action oriented, and it's I'm going to put in the work, and I'm learning more. I'm going to find ways that I could better put in the work. I'm going to, find ways. I'm going to, find ground. Like
Hmm.
that's one of the most for white people who are interested in who think, "Oh, I'm not doing enough. Like why is it that I can't do enough?" Like
Hmm.
it's because you don't have ground, honey. You need ground. You need support, right? You need safety. So one of the main things that I'm doing is finding that ground, finding ritual,
Hmm.
finding support, and allowing it to give me capacity so that I could be there and I can show up.
Hmm.
And I'm not always good at it. And because of all of the the intense trauma that I have experienced, particularly as a trans person, yeah, I would say really start with finding ground, interrogating yourself, and then doing the work, and then doing the action, doing the research, going to the protests, doing reparation work, paying the people of the land that you're on, giving them financial support so they can continue to, reject the deeper colonization of their lands.
One of our interactions before hopping in this call, you had let me backtrack. A lot of this, the conversations in on graphic content are around entrepreneurship, or like we said, carving out your own path. And a big part of going out on our own is entrepreneurship, is business. And one of the things that you had mentioned on in your intake
Yeah.
form was that, talking about how in your life, running a business or operating a business is a bit counterintuitive to, your soul's purpose, like who you are as an individual. So I can relate to that absolutely. As a creative, I'm like, this is not, this is not, the approach at the beginning is like, this is a lot. And so for you, like, what part of running a practice has felt the most misaligned, as somebody who's, I'm trying to run a business, but I'm also trying to help the world?
Mm, my community, trans people don't have money. We don't have money because we're either giving it away to other trans people or we're broke AF, because we've denied opportunities. I can't stand like it ugh, like in my body just does not feel good
Hmm.
to deny somebody this stuff that's so important. It's so fundamental, and so that's the thing, like that the fact that I have to like charge money, and I'm so privileged because I have a partner who works for the government.
Hmm.
So she has a very stable job, and so she is literally the only reason that I am here today. Like she is literally like the person that supported my work from the beginning.
I didn't grow up as a business person. I grew up as a creative who wanted to capitalize on the skill that I had to be able to fund my life and to pay for my life. And so,
Same.
right? And so, to anyone listening, like, what helps you stay in integrity without opting out of sustainability altogether? Like, what is something that you're like, okay, I know I need to do this thing to keep the train running, let's say, but also how do I
Mhm.
balance that more holistic side of myself to bring the two together to be in harmony with one another?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring that out. I'm definitely still figuring that
Sorry,
out.
I'm not laughing at you just
I mean,
because
low
it's
prices.
relatable.
Low prices. I know that because I have this privilege of security, like financial security because of my partner, I'm able to offer a sliding scale, a quite profound sliding scale, from $50 for a
Mhm.
session, particularly for queer and trans folks. I'm very thankful to those who have enough money to pay at higher prices. sort of rejecting narratives that I have to be better.
Mm,
I felt so much imposter syndrome,
yeah.
so deep imposter syndrome. Beginning of my work and even today. So yeah, I really just sort of just try to ground and I see, well, okay, what feels like a price that I feel like there's some kind of relational trade and dedication to liberation. that's my that's how I do it.
Hmm.
That's how I've sort of been able to at least.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
important. I think that's a big hurdle. Just the imposter syndrome alone, I think, is a major, it's so
Yeah.
talked about. Obviously, there's a reason, but it's once again, we tell ourselves, I haven't learned enough. I haven't done enough to be able to help others. And I think that just that community focus on opening up around conversations that you said, like those slow, let's take it slow, let's have a slower pace at that approach. I love that
Mhm.
because that's the that is a game changer for a lot of people, is a switch in perspective and in pace. That alone is like a major. I think that that's something that is very impactful.
Right. I think like that obviously comes with a lot of privilege, right? Some people just can't do that. And that's the reality, right?
Hmm.
But if you can and you notice that you can, then you can do something else,
Yeah.
right? You can contribute to so those people don't have to, right? That's mutual
Hmm.
aid, which
Yeah.
is beautiful. I received this money and I recognize that, and this is from Yafa, who's a trans Palestinian who does a lot of beautiful work around like community organizing and
Hmm.
organizing for liberation. They talk about mutual aid as like, I received this money, but I know that it's not necessarily mine. And I know that wherever I put it, I know that somehow that is helping. Whether it helps me directly is not the point. It's helping the community.
Yeah.
It's helping all of us, right? And it's sort of that relational, trusting that relational that relational field.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what are you working on next? Like, what's the next phase of your practice looking like?
Yes, I want to do part of more of like how to make this more accessible. Is to do group classes, like not group sessions, like
Hmm.
group somatic experiencing, where we could just practice nervous system regulation together and like away from the story. Like it doesn't have to do with story. We just practice it,
Hmm.
and we start to get more capacity for choice in the system. Yeah, so that's one of the things I'm excited for. It's gonna be in person in Montreal. I don't think I'm ready to do that online yet,
Yeah.
but that's yeah. So it's gonna be in person, and it's gonna be mostly open to queer and trans folks who wanna do that together. And then my courses, I'm hopefully by the time that this podcast is out, all of my
Hmm.
courses will be out. And so those are just like sort of 1 hour movement explorations where you don't really have to think too much. You just like are present with yourself. That's sort of that thing that I started with, of just like building movement patterns in your brain and your nervous system to like move away from chronic pain patterns, and
Mm.
it's great stuff. Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted to like try a little bit just here, just to
Yeah.
show people what that's like. Yeah, would you be down?
Sure. Yeah.
Do we have time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do
Good.
it.
Okay. Good. So just like really gently, really slowly, just begin to like bring your head and your eyes just down a little bit, and then bring it back up. So very slowly, right? Yeah. And as you just can continue to do that. And as you do that, just like notice if there's a pattern in your breathing. That's it. Yeah. Maybe as you bring your head down, you might begin to exhale. Maybe as you bring your head up, you begin to inhale. Right. Yeah. Those are really like the basic movement explorations. It's very slow, very small. We do all different body parts in different positions,
Mm.
sometimes on the floor, sometimes in standing, or sometimes, on the back or the side or the belly.
Hmm.
Yeah. And we just do really soft, slow movement. How was that?
Honestly, just like slowing it down, you just realize
Yeah.
how like on your body is all the time. Well, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So
great, it's great. You have a lot of just, like, realization, like, "Oh my god, I've been holding this part and I don't need to hold it."
so
Yeah,
much. It's
yeah,
wild, but I love the
yeah.
way that you talk about it. We have talked a lot. We've
We have yeah,
we've
this
t-
has
we,
been
we've
quite
talked
a
about a lot of things that you've done that you are inspired by that you're working on. And so I want to ask, what is the most on brand thing about you? There's so many things that we talked about, and what would you say is the most on brand thing about you?
My most on brand thing is my liberation, my dedication for liberation. I feel like that's I was struggling a lot with this question, and then
Hmm.
with like this just for the past couple of years, like what's my brand? And I've been like focused on colors and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna show my authentic self. Like that's my brand,
Yeah,
showing my authentic self.
I
Yeah.
love
So
that.
just being very open and honest about, on my website, you see like a picture of me as a kid. Like I'm just like, here's me. And that a lot of clients have been like, that's the deciding factor.
Mm.
So yeah, that's my brand.
That's why you're here today. I think that's something that I connect with people so much about is authenticity. I present Geo. You know, there's different versions of Geo, but for the most part, anytime I'm this is me. I'm the same person through and through. And I
Yeah.
love when people just are open about who they are. That's something that because a lot of people have their guards up. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I just, I want to thank you so much for being here, for being part of the show. It means the world to me. I'm really happy that we made the time to do this. So to anyone listening who might want to reach out to you, have a session, book a session, just get to know, have a consultation on what it is that somatics are, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they could go to my website. It's www.somatic with a K. So somatik.ca.
Mhm.
And there you'll find to like book a one-on-one consultation. I have my group classes, my group movement classes on Mondays at 7 p.m. And it's hybrid. So if you're not in Montreal, you can come, or if you're in Montreal, you could also come hybrid. But it's also in
Mhm.
person, and it's a beautiful community of folks and we chat after by a fake fire. And then I have my courses, which if you'd like to try, I have an online library, and you can try a free course, which is a bunch of classes, using the code graphic, and hopefully you can send them a link. Yeah.
Yes, amazing. I love that.
Yeah, and you'll get a free course to try out.
Thank you so much, Andrea. This has been
Thank you.
amazing. I'm so happy that we
Yes.
got to do this.
Yes, thank you so much, Gio. It was really, really fun. Really great time. We really kikied.
Yes, like I said, I wish that you
Yeah.
lived a little closer, but next time I'm in Montreal, I will be knocking on the door
You'll be
saying,
there. Yeah, for
"Hey."
sure. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, and we
Hmm.
could go we could go for some good food.
I'm
There's
so
a lot of
down.
good food here.
Make sure to follow the podcast on Spotify, all the streaming services, YouTube, etc. If you want to send an email in at graphiccontentpod@gmail.com, would love to hear from you. And Andrea, I just want to thank you once again for being part of the show, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, Gio. Thank you.
You're welcome.